I wasn't not so great at making friends. I was actually pretty awkward, overweight, and picked on. Junior high, that started to get a little bit better. Talk about a love story between friends. Oh my God, it was everything. She was like the coolest. We wore the same size shoes. We wore the same size clothes. We're like two little birds. She's the one who smoked weed with me for the first time. She had already like started smoking pot. So I remember like, I kept like smelling her sweater. Like, oh, that's what weed smells like. I was so excited. And we go to backyard gigs. We were like always together. But my life was crazy. Ended up getting heavily into meth and then into heroin. I end up on the streets. I overdosed. Shit's fucking super crazy. She stays sober. She's in school, getting A's and B's. She's in AP classes. Her family doesn't even know she smokes weed. I'm like, oh, Sam's in the homeless shelter this week. Sam's in rehab this week. She'd come to visit me. She was the only person that knew what was going on in my house. The only person who really knew me, that had ever really known me, knew what my dad was about, knew what my life was really like. Anyway, she had this boyfriend she was super in love with, and they broke up. And she decided that she wanted to learn how to shoot up. I taught her how to score. We went downtown. There's these guys who will walk around, they hold a briefcase or they hold like a newspaper. And they'll just walk around the corner and you could like spot them if you walk around a couple times. And they spit out the little balloons in your hand. And yeah, she was only using for about a week. I was out for breakfast with Phil, my dad. He'd gotten a raise at work. I don't know how, but he clinked glasses with me. And immediately I had like this flip book in front of my eyes. I saw all these images really, really quickly, beyond deja vu. It was like somebody had played a tape for me, but like 10 times fast. And I got woozy and I went to the bathroom. I couldn't even finish my meal. I said, let's go. When we get to the house, the phone is ringing off the hook. Phil answers the phone. I just hear my mother screaming. My best friend Stephanie's mom had called her. They found her that morning. They'd gone to wake her up. They opened the door. She'd been dead for hours. She was cold. We got there and I was really scared. When they wheeled her out, she looked so tiny on the gurney, and we all got to like touch her before they wheeled her out. Her mom went crazy. She ran down the street. They had to like grab her and bring her back. It was the reason why I stopped doing heroin. That's how I quit, actually. Her funeral was even like crazy. We used to write each other letters a lot. And she'd written a letter about what she wanted when she died. And she said, I want them to play the Germs and I want people to be fucking happy. And her uncle got mad because her boyfriend that she'd broken up with, he tried to pin an Addicts pin on her lapel. Her favorite band was the Addicts. And her uncle got pissed. How dare you put that on her lapel when she died of a heroin overdose? Her boyfriend was like, you don't even know who she was. That was her favorite band. And there's practically a fucking fist fight. And the moon was blood red. I remember coming back from the wake. It was huge and blood red. It was interesting because the night before she died, I had actually thought I was dying. I kept having these fucking panic attacks and I told her, I think I'm gonna die. I think I'm gonna die. And she said, don't be silly, Sam. You're not gonna die. I said, I feel like if I go to sleep, I'm gonna die. If I close my eyes and I stop willing myself awake, I'll die. She said, that's silly. Only 1 in a million people die in their sleep. Well, she ended up dying that night. The night that she died, I had a dream. We were laying in bed together and there was, you know those old radios where it's like between stations and it's like, there's a killer on the loose. And I said, oh, I should get up and lock the windows. And she wrapped her arms around me and she said, no, don't worry, nothing's gonna hurt us. And I like cuddled up really close to her and I said, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And that was the only dream that I've had about her. I used to just wish, oh God, I just want to see her. Like I wish I could just dream about her. And 2 weeks ago I went to the cemetery and I hate the, you know, like every time I go to, she's like in this mausoleum and I hate going to that wall because it's like I face my own questions about like why did I get a second chance and she didn't? Like, does she hate me? So like, I'm always trying to pump myself up, like, oh, just talk about your day, tell her a joke. And I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? I'm doing good. I'm not drinking. I bet you're proud. You know how hard that is for me. I am smoking way too much weed though. It's like, it's pretty much your fault because you're the one who got me into weed, right? And then I stopped and I was like, well, I'm the one who got you into heroin. And I guess that's kind of my fault, right? And do you hate me? Do you blame me? And I heard this tap. And I was like, oh man, you do hate me, huh? Like, I'll leave now. And I look up and like somebody else's mausoleum is this little heart balloon and it says, I love you. I don't know if that was a coincidence or something, but it really meant the world to me. And sometimes I go there and the wind just kicks up so like crazy when I'm talking to her that I don't know if I'm like lying to myself by believing that there's something more, but like I have to believe that. I told myself for the longest time, oh, I'm gonna live for both of us and everything that I do is gonna be for you and for me, but I was hard enough even just to do something for myself a lot of the times. And I would feel so guilty. You know, every time I would try to get sober and stop drinking and I would fail. And it was just like a lot of weight to carry. It's hard not to feel egotistical and assuming that her role was to wake me up or something. The beautiful people that I've known, and you know, it's not just to sing their praises because they're dead. Now you're saying you've been canonized. Like, no, it is not revisionist history. They were people that touched my life when they were alive. To be a guerrilla gardener, right? But with people, like you take the deserted wasteland that's inside of somebody and you're like, wow, things can grow here. Like, it's a big deal. Wow. But life is like, it's like when you're tripping on shrooms and you're like, oh, am I crying because it's so beautiful or because it's sad or because it's sadly beautiful or beautifully sad? That's like the best part is it's so bittersweet. It's like a tapestry that's interwoven. The victories and the defeats and the pain and the pleasure, it's all knit together and you can't pull one string without losing the whole thing. So it's like, I can't claim to know like how it was constructed, but I sure know that I don't want to pull on a string and end up with a fucking hole in my sweater, you know? I can tell you the story of how my friend died and how it hurt me and what it taught me, but if my life doesn't reflect those lessons, then where is the meaning, you know? I guess in that sense, you kind of have to infuse those memories with the meaning